from one bed to what you see behind us now, and it's still growing because you're all here today to participate in this event. And Tina is here. She's been an inspiration in getting this. Not just inspiration, she's been the muscle. You call me the muscle. She's been the muscle behind getting this event going. And then I'll tell you another situation, another thing. There is a lot of frustration in gardening and farming. I'm not a farmer. I'm a gardener, and I did take a master gardener's course, but I didn't finish it. Well, I didn't get certified. Let's just put it that way. What I found is the course that I took was very conventional and very commercial, and I really was dismayed. They weren't teaching organic gardening or farming, and I didn't want chemicals of any sort. But so I was very frustrated in a lot of things with the rocks in the soil and the bugs and the plants that didn't make it. And you know, I would plant something and I'd say, well, hurry up and grow, and instead of being nice to the plant. And I prayed to the Lord, and I just said, you know, I'm tired of this. I'm really kind of tired of this. And you know, one day I'm out in the garden, and out in this garden, and a small cloud was off in the distance, and I saw it off in the distance. It was a small dark cloud, and I saw it off in the distance, and it was coming this way, and it kept coming this way, and then all of a sudden it was over the garden, and it stopped over the garden, and it started raining big drops down in the garden. And I was impressed to know that the problem was not with the garden, and not with the plants, and not with the lack of hands that were not there any longer. It really was my expectations that were the problem. So I've learned a lot in gardening. So that's the end of my spiel for now for Maranatha Garden. And I would also like to make a quick introduction. You know, I'm assuming that most of you know Jerry Travers. And what I know about Jerry is that he's an author. He's a homesteader, organic homesteader. He's a farmer. He is the owner and founder of Sweet Birch Farms in Meriden, Connecticut. And I looked him up on Google, and it describes his farm as an oasis in his area. So with that, I'm going to introduce Jerry, and Jerry will be introducing, I believe her name is Deborah Queen. So I'll let him do that.
Well, we're going to plant a garden, and we're going to put all kinds of stuff here. I don't see much of a working crew, but we've got a lot of things to dig. We're going to put in grapes and black currants and elderberries, a row of them over there, and we have a bunch of other different things, all different things. Debbie's going to introduce you ladies to a culinary garden, and where you can use these herbs in your cooking. Right now, when we eat at the supermarket and we get a hankering for something else, and I don't mean junk food, we can go find something different that's satisfying. In other words, the nutritional needs of the body can be met with the variability, although it's getting more and more difficult because this food is so bland and has so little nutrition in it, that you can go get something else. But when you're growing your own food, and I don't know what the introduction was about me, but this is the only introduction I like. I grow my own food.
Amen.
Okay? Forget about any education. It has to do with the... Okay. Is that better? Yeah, okay. Anyways, I grow my own food, and so that's all I basically eat. I will get a few odds and ends from the store just because my wife says, you need a varied diet. And she's right. This is where culinary herbs come in. They're all medicinal, and they have the extra nutrients that you're going to need to have a balanced diet. And I don't mean balance with proteins, carbs, and oils. I mean micronutrients and all the different phytonutrients that we need to be healthy. So that's what the culinary garden is all about. Let's begin now with, I want to take you for a walk through the garden. And in this walk, I want to show you what the ground is telling us. So it'll give us an idea of what we're going to do. The mugwort, that's nitrogen deficient. Wherever mugwort grows, it's nitrogen deficient.
I pulled that out of here.
Yeah, I know. It's every single weed is repairing a specific damage in the soil. Every single weed. You can get a book called Weed Control Without Poison, Charles Walters Jr., and it's an agricultural book for the United States farms, and it tells you if you got these weeds, what you do is they're doing this to repair the soil. You do it, and they'll be gone. For instance, you get your sorghum, Johnson grass, big problem throughout the South, and it'll grow like this. You add organic matter, and it'll grow like this, and like this. Before you know it, it won't want to grow, because it is creating a lot of biomass. It gets this tall to increase carbon content in the soil for microbial home. And so as it builds the soil, it puts itself out of a job. And then the next type of weed that comes in that would replace it is a weed that's repairing certain things. When you see this chickweed here, you know you have a pretty good, the chickweed is the dry stuff, okay? It's mostly a winter thing. See how it's dried up now? That indicates that you have a good mineral content, because it will only grow in soils that have a good micronutrient or mineral type content.
So you don't want to get rid of it? It takes over the lawn, actually.
It was in my bed.
It takes over my lawn, the whole lawn.
So
just enjoy it, I guess.
mow it. Yeah. Well, if you want a beautiful lawn, go buy some weed and feed. Now that's crazy, and that's not the answer, you know.
Okay.
But that's what everybody does. If they want these beautiful lawns,
Right.
You put the chemical nitrogen on, you put the herbicides on that kills all the
Natural.
the broadleaf plants, and there you go, beautiful lawn.
Okay.
But that's horrible for the soil and
I was
horrible
worried,
for
but
people,
I'll
and
leave
you
it
can
alone.
join
Just mow it.
you can join the ranks after you use it all the time with those that are getting cancer and then are suing Monsanto. So anyways,
Okay.
so you got the clover. Notice the soils are nice in the row here, and see how this is nice here. This ground is good between here, and the clovers have assisted it. See, the clovers, they have assisted it in getting better. Now, where was the? Okay, here it is. Come over here and let's take a look at this. Let's see how observant you all are. Now this is lamb's quarters. Okay? Everybody look at it.
What is it called?
Lamb's quarters. It's good to eat.
Yes, it is.
Good to eat. I enjoy it. I've already eaten some. Okay, you looked at it, right? You know what it looks like? Come with me here. We're going to look at some lamb's quarters. Okay, anyone have any? Everyone observe it. What do you see? You see things a little different. Okay? If you notice,
A little yellow, isn't it?
yeah, right. The others were greener.
Yeah.
But this is the significant thing. You see this, see the flecking in the leaf? See the little flecking
okay.
color? There wasn't over there,
Okay.
okay? This flecking in the leaf tells you this is the beginning of a potassium deficiency. So this is our compost soil that we were going to dig up, and I was going to use it because it grew lamb's quarters 9 feet tall. I weed whacked this thing down here, and but even the more mature ones, I I don't need them like this, because look at all that potassium deficiency. This is the beginning signs of potassium deficiency. And if we're going to use this as our soil, number one, your potatoes are going to be smaller. Your sweet potatoes are going to be smaller. Your pepper stems are going to snap, okay, because they won't have the potassium they need for a strong stem. Your first tomato may come out round, your second tomato will be a little flatter, and your third set inflorescence of tomatoes are going to be sort of flat, okay, because you don't have enough potassium. Okay, so this is where you use rescue chemistry. And so you can use wood ashes if you want to be organic. So there are organic fertilizers to rescue you from problems. Okay, so you can put the wood ashes on, and that will provide the potassium. But what we're going to do, and this does not occur in one season, is we're going to inoculate all our seed. And many of the plants that I've already brought have been inoculated when the seeds were planted. And the inoculation put together by Advanced Ecological Agriculture, I only mention them not to advertise them, but because they're the only ones that have an understanding, the best understanding of regenerative agriculture. In the microbes, you'll have a number of different mycorrhizal fungi, and this mycorrhizal fungi will go out in the soil and mine. Now, you can have a potassium deficiency here, but if you did a chemical analysis of this soil, you may find that this soil has about 40,000 pounds of potassium per acre. Per acre, 40,000 pounds. Why should you you only need in a crop, they say about, at least a couple 100 pounds per acre, 200 pounds per acre is fine for good production. And it's got 40,000. Why isn't it there? Because it's not available, because the microbes have not made it available. You don't have the microbes to make it available. So we're going to be inoculating to make the minerals available, because the mycorrhizal fungi that will begin to grow with the roots, they'll go out and they'll set up mining operations, and as the internet system, their mycelium, these root-like myceliums that grow out from the root of the plant, it behaves like an internet system. They send signals, ask for the specific amounts that they want, because when they're growing vegetatively, they don't need too much, but at reproduction, they can need as much as 50 times more. And so they use that communication system, and then mycorrhizal fungi mine those minerals. But also in the process, along these highways, mycorrhizal highways, are colonies of bacteria that are producing phytonutrients. That just means plant. Phyto is Greek for plant, plant nutrients. And so they in turn carry them back either to the root cell wall, or right into the kitchen. Some different species go right into the kitchen and bring it in the inside of the plant. And so you want to establish them. They're in the inoculant. So are the bacteria that are operating and doing things, as well as other bacteria that are individual livers that don't live in a symbiotic relationship with the mycorrhizal fungi, but live on their own and feed the plant. These microbes will mine the air, the nitrogen fixing bacteria, you're all familiar with those things. Nitrogen fixers, they'll mine the air. The air is 78% nitrogen, and they'll convert the nitrogen into a usable form of nitrogen fertilizer, nitrates and ammonias, that the plants use. The nitrates for vegetative growth, the ammonia for fruiting growth, and keep them supplied. And then you'll have other microbes in there that, in this inoculant that AEA has, that make apartments. They're construction crews. They make humus, okay? And for us here in the northern latitudes, humus production is all we need, okay? Because these humate carbon particles that these glomus, that's a genus name of these bacteria that make apartments, make housing for the microbes. These have built the prairie soils, and they make these apartments in a way that they will last for many years. The farther south you go, the less humus is made. And the farther south you go, by the time you hit southern Florida, that Texas point where they grow oranges and stuff like that, you almost have no organic matter in the soil. It does not stay there on its own. It volatilizes, or it goes right up into the plant. And in the tropics, there's none whatsoever. And so when you get that far south, you've got to use biochar. In other words, when you cut down your woods or cut down your something, you char the wood, okay? And that charred wood, as the natives of all over the place, where's Max here? Max up there with a brown shirt. He's a native to Papua New Guinea, grew up in a village, grew their own food, even though he became an MD, but that's beside the point. And so he grew his own food, and they used to burn the stuff, and then while the fire is hot, rake it downhill. It's all hills in Papua, you know, and mountains. And so they'd rake it down, and it would leave the charcoal behind in the soil. I met another fella, he was a farmer from some Caribbean island, and I'm saying, how are you up here in the United States? How can you afford it just being a farmer? But I found out the university was paying him because to teach the students, because he grew excellent quality produce, and they didn't know how to grow good produce. And one of the tricks he was doing was putting the carbon in it, as well as, of course, saving his own seed generation after generation. Very important to have seed that's adapted itself to your climate. But he put charcoal. And of course, then we know the Amazon, the terra preta soils of the Amazon, as they cut the Amazon down to grow sugarcane and commercial products like corn and soybeans and stuff like that. They're finding soils that have been there, dark soils that are hundreds of years old, where normally you cut down the Amazon, you grow food on it for a few years, it won't grow any more food. Then you put cattle on it, and then it won't even grow any grass, and then it's just good for nothing, it's just clump grass, except for people who know how to regenerate it. So down there you have to have biochar. Up here we're far enough north that you don't have to. Matter of fact, in Scotland, the organic matter is so thick, it's too thick, that they plow downhill to create erosion, to open up the subsoil so that pine seedlings and things like that can reforest that type of ground. So we have glomus bacteria in this inoculant that are making apartments. And it's very important. We've got to be taking this carbon out of the air and making apartments, because we may inoculate, but if they don't have a home to live in, how long are they going to last? Okay, so we've got to get that organic matter up. That's why organic gardening took off and was such a boom, is because they were teaching people to put the carbon back in. And the carbon is important. You can inoculate all you want, and it's not going to be there, except some of the leguminous inoculants, along as you have legumes growing there each year. Now, another thing that's very important with putting these inoculants on, they must be fed from when the soil warms up to when the frost kills the plants. They've got to be fed. So you don't just grow your food and then walk away. I mean, weeds, you know, they produce for you, and then you walk away. The weeds will try to catch up, but it's best for you if you can put a cover crop or specific types of crops. When we finish exposing the soil and doing all what we do here, I'm going to come behind, because it's summer, and I'm going to put white clover seed. All the bare spots, I'm just going to spread white clover. You saw how nice the soil was where there was white clover. Let's just spread it everywhere, okay? And there are different things that you can grow and just have your whole bed white clover. If you're going to plant tomatoes and peppers and stuff that is going to grow up tall, taller than white clover, Plant your whole bed in white clover. Let the soil be being built. Let it produce nitrogen for the plant. The more diversity you have of plants in your crop, the healthier it is, the more phytonutrients it has, okay? The more nutrition that it's going to have. So also after we put things in, we're going to come behind with different types of plants and flowers and put them in here and there. Now I'd like to mention also at this time, we all understand that in an ecosystem, I have basically, well, 3 native ecosystems where I have some property down in Meriden. I have a red maple swamp ecosystem just over the line. And then we have a chestnut ridge ecosystem, we have a marsh ecosystem. In these ecosystems you have, you know, up here in the temperate zone where we are, 20, 30, 40 species of plants. And they will feed each other. They will serve each other, okay? And so we want to come behind. When our tomatoes are done, they'll finish, and they may be done sort of early with so little potassium in the ground. You want to come in, and this is what I do in end of July, is I just come through on the ground. Actually what I do is, it's pretty simple. I just weed whack between my tomato rows right down to the ground. I'm hitting the dirt as I'm doing it. Get everything off, and I do this before a nice big rain is coming. A nice big rain. And I will throw down forage radishes, daikon radishes. They call them forage radishes in farming, but daikon. And these daikon will go down deep, open the ground up. They'll draw up nutrients to provide sulfur for the plant, and they're a constant source of solar collection, making sugars. I didn't add that those mycorrhizal fungi, when they go to the plant to deliver the nutrients, they are fed by the plant sugars. Sugars that the plant made by taking sunlight, water, and CO2. And CO2 is very important. Want to be collecting sunlight and putting that sugar into the ground, because the mycorrhizal fungi come and they're fed those sugars that the plant gives, and they feed the plant. And then they'll take the sugars to the bacterial colonies and feed them. And everything is working in nature to serve each other. All nature manifests the character of our Creator. He designed everything to serve everything else. And when you look at the evil things in nature, predation, parasitism, weeds, and things like that, every single one of those things is doing a redemptive work, a restorative work to some type of damage we've done. I have some books out on those subjects I'll be putting out for later if you want to read more on it. So looking at this, seeing the potassium deficiency, and there's not much we can do about it. Try to get some wood ashes, or try to buy an organic fertilizer that has some potassium in it, because that's what we're doing now. We are inoculating, and if we get sufficient organic matter in the soil, we'll have enough housing, and then they can proliferate to levels where not only will they provide all the potassium that's needed, when they can provide all the nutrients that the plant requires, then your plant will be medicine. And then your food will be your medicine, and your medicine will be your food. So it all hinges upon this microbiome that's in the soil and on the leaf of the plant. There's a microbiome on the leaf, and it's gathering nutrients out of the air. Matter of fact, in New England here, we don't have any boron in the subsoil, but we have no problem with getting enough boron for our plants as long as we keep the topsoil wet. Have you ever noticed when you grow tomatoes, you get the blossom end rot on the bottom, that dry black spot on the bottom? You didn't water. And when you didn't water, what happened was the microbes that are constantly producing and supplying the boron for the plant cease because there's no boron in the subsoil of New England. So the roots, although they're down deep in the tomato plant and they can get water, they don't have the boron because the topsoil has dried out. And without the boron, then you don't carry calcium into the plant, and that it's actually a calcium deficiency that causes it, but not in reality. It's you not watering, because you not watering doesn't provide enough boron, which does not give the carrier necessary to bring the calcium into the cell, and so you get that problem. So we have a grave responsibility to maintain and care for plant life. We too have a role of service, just like every plant is serving one another. That's why they grow in ecosystems. We have a role of service, and our role of service is to, at this time in Earth's history, to restore the diseased land back to health. So it can be a praise and a glory to God, because He gave us a paradise. We trashed it. We've got to bring it back. Okay, so this is one thing we're going to recognize. We'll be using this. It has a little more carbon in it. Notice the color difference. That was delivered recently. That's probably nothing more than exactly what the dirt is we're dealing with in the first place. At least it's volume to fill a bed, okay? But we're talking with Roberta here, we need to buy 100% composted manures and then mix it half and half. And then we can get our carbon in and get some volume to fill these beds, okay? So that gives you a little background on what we're doing. So as we're working, we're going to inoculate any seed that we put in with an inoculant that AEA has. I have that, and so I guess the thing to do now is, are you ready to be assigned projects? Do you have shovels to